let's check our homework. We were supposed to do our identity timeline for Nemo, remember? So if you have your packet, I think this is on page 60. All right, so let's talk about Nemo at the beginning of the movie. What could we say about Nemo at the beginning? Lily, how does Nemo act at the beginning?
He's very playful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can say he's playful. All right, what other words do we have? Remember, he is on his way to his first day of school. How does he feel about going to school for the first time, Lingji?
And Miss Lisa, I wanted to say that I like both Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, okay?
Okay, I'm very glad. Can you tell me how Nemo acts when it's his first day of school?
He acts very fun. He wants to go to school.
So we can say he's what?
Playful.
Okay, someone already said that. What else is he?
And
Remember, he's jumping up and down. He's trying to wake up his dad. He's like, let's go, it's time for school.
eager.
Eager, okay. Say eager. Does he really know about the dangers of the ocean, Dino?
No.
No. So can you think of a word that says that he doesn't really know about the dangers yet?
I don't remember.
So let's think. So we know that Marlin was very careful at the beginning. Does Nemo really have many cares? Does he know to be careful of the ocean yet?
No.
So we could say he is if he's free of cares, he might be
Careless.
not careless. If he's free of cares?
Carefree.
Carefree. So careless is more like you make a lot of mistakes. You don't pay attention. Carefree is like, I don't have a care in the world. I'm going to do whatever I want. Nothing bad will happen to me. Okay? All right. Good job. So that's Nemo at the beginning. Okay? And then his dad tells him he can't swim as well as the other fish. Jon Snow, how does this make Nemo feel?
Angry.
He's angry, okay? And we know that Nemo goes to touch the boat even though his dad tells him not to. What does this tell us about Nemo, Elsa? He's going to do it, prove to his dad that he can. So we could say Nemo is what?
Brave.
Okay.
Independent.
Say again.
Independent.
Okay. But remember, so we want the word for he really wants to show his dad that he can do it because his dad told him he couldn't. Do you remember that word? Starts with a D.
Determined.
Yes, determined. When you're determined to do something, you're going to do it no matter what anyone else says. Okay, good job. All right, so then he gets stuck in the tube. And Bill, does Nemo think he can get out of this tube by himself?
No.
No. What would be a word to describe him? He help himself in this situation?
No.
So if someone is, we'll say if someone can't help themselves,
Yes.
are what? A suffix that means without. Bill?
Yes.
Read it.
Helpless.
Yes, right? He feels helpless. He doesn't think he can do it by himself. Okay. And any other words to describe Nemo in this situation?
He could not do anything.
Okay, so remember, if you can do things by yourself, you are independent. If you need people to help you, then you are
He's dependent.
dependent. Okay. Dependent on others, right? He doesn't think he can do this by himself. next, he hears the news about his father swimming across the ocean to come rescue him. How do you think Nemo feels here? He's going to take the rock and try to escape again. How's he feeling?
Angry.
Is he angry? Remember, he heard his dad is on his way to rescue him. So he's like, oh man, if my dad's coming, I better help the situation, right? And he tried to do it before and it didn't work and he got scared, but he's going back to do it again. What can we say if something is scary, but you do it anyways, that you are?
I need to think.
Okay, you think. Elsa, can you tell me the word that you used before?
Independent.
Okay, and what else? When something is scary, but you do it anyways.
Brave.
Brave, independent and brave. Okay. All right, and at the end of our story, what can we say about Nemo, Mitzi? He's going off on his adventures on his own. What can we say about him? Mitzi, is Nemo able to do things on his own now?
Yes.
So what is it called when you can do things by yourself?
Independent.
Yep, we'll say he just carries on being independent, okay? And Feng Tao, where's Feng Tao? I just saw you there. How does Nemo feel towards his father at the end?
Nemo feels at the end.
Mm-hmm. How does he feel about his father? Is he still angry?
No, he loves his father.
Mm-hmm. He loves his father. I remember when he's on Mr. Ray's back and they're going out and he says, wait, I forgot something. And he swims back to his father and does what?
And hug him.
Gives him a hug and says, I love you, right? So we can call that, he is now more, I'll say he appreciates his father, right? When you appreciate something or someone, you think about the nice things they have done for you. And then you might say like, thank you, or you give them a hug, or you let them know that you have thought about what they have done for you, right? So, Minnie, what did Marlin do for Nemo throughout this whole movie?
He cares him and he protects him.
Mm-hmm. So we'll say that Nemo realizes, he thinks in his head, my dad has swam across the entire ocean for me to rescue me, and he protects me. So he's showing his father, hey, I've thought about these things, and I want you to know that I recognize that you do all these things for me. So that's what we call appreciate. Okay? Does anyone have anything else to add to our character timeline? Kent, do you have something for us?
Ruthless.
Ruthless. Yes, I think what does ruthless mean, Kent?
You scare, but you still do it.
Okay, where did you hear that word?
Actually, when my grandma said to my dad talk to my younger brother.
Right, so there's an excellent word. So when you're ruthless, you want something and nothing is going to stop you from getting it. You will do absolutely anything to get what you want, and nothing else will get in your way. Okay, so he wants to get out of this fish tank and nothing is going to stop him. He is ruthless. All right, that pretty good, I think? Okay, so I'll make sure to send this home so you can check. So remember, because we're using character traits and feelings, so these words are all adjectives, right? If your answers are different than the ones we have on the screen, that's fine. Okay, but if you're not sure if your answer is correct, then you can go ahead and ask, okay? We are going to watch the last scene in Finding Nemo right now, so we can see what goes on with Nemo and his father before we do our next activity. Just in case some of you have not seen it yet. Okay, so how do we feel about the ending of Finding Nemo? Does this make us feel good or not so good inside? What do we think? Dino?
Good.
Makes you feel good? What about it makes you feel good?
The ending. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so we're gonna talk a bit about Nemo and Marlin's relationship. We want to say, how has their relationship ended up, or how has it changed? Okay, so page 59. So page 59 in your movie study booklet. Okay, so you can write down what we write down together in this part, and then our conclusion down at the bottom, I will type in red. Okay, so let's see about some questions. So who is excited to go to school at the beginning of that clip? Sarah, which one of them, Marlin or Nemo, is more excited to go to school?
I'm here.
Did you hear the question?
No.
So in the last scene, is Marlin or Nemo more excited to go to school?
Marlin. I think Marlin because
Yep.
because Marlin it says time for school, time for school, time for school, time for school.
And how is that different from the beginning of the movie?
Beginning, it's Nemo who said time for school.
Okay, so at the end we could say
Marlin
is excited for who's going to school, Marlin or Nemo?
Nemo.
Or Nemo
Well,
to go to school. Okay, so that we know that is one thing that's very different since the beginning of the movie. Okay. So what do Marlin and Nemo do on their way to school? Is Marlin like, whoa, 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 hold my hand, hold my fin, check the traffic, go in and out of the anemone? Is he like that, like similar to how he is at the beginning? Hey, what did they do instead?
Martin just let Nemo go with the teacher.
But before they get to the teacher, when they're on their way to school, what do they do? Are they swimming slowly and carefully?
They are swimming very fast.
Yeah, because they're having a
Field trip.
Marlin and Nemo are?
Nemo is on a field trip.
Okay, but before they get to school, we could say they're swimming very fast because they are racing. Marlin and Nemo are, we'll say, race to school. Remember at the beginning, they were swimming very slowly and carefully. Okay. What does Nemo do before he leaves with his classmates? So he gets on Mr. Ray's back, and then he says, whoa, 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 I forgot something. Jon Snow, what does he do?
What?
What does Nemo do before he leaves with all of his classmates?
Marlin.
Yep. So then Nemo swims back to hug Marlin and tell him that he loves him. Okay. What does Marlin tell Nemo before he goes off? As he's swimming away, what does Marlin yell out to Nemo? Mitzi, do you remember?
We said Have a fun adventure.
Mm-hmm. Marlin tells Nemo to have an adventure. Does he say this at the beginning of the movie, Mitzi?
No.
No. Remember, what does he tell what does he tell Nemo at the beginning of the movie? To have an adventure, to be careful.
Be careful.
Yeah. So at the beginning, he's saying, be careful. And now he's saying, have an adventure. So we know all of these things. Marlin's excited for Nemo to go to school. Marlin and Nemo race to school. Nemo swims back to hug Marlin and tells him that he loves him. And Marlin tells Nemo to have an adventure. So how does Marlin feel about Nemo now? Pizza?
Don't worry for Nemo anymore, like the beginning of the story.
Okay, so Marlin isn't as worried about Nemo as he was in the beginning. Is this because he doesn't care about Nemo?
No, he
Why?
knows Nemo can handle every situation.
Okay. So Marlin isn't as worried about Nemo as he was in the beginning because he, will say, trusts, right? He trusts Nemo now. Okay, he knows that Nemo can do things for himself. Okay, and how does Nemo feel about this? B.
Nemo feels happy.
Mm-hmm. So Nemo is excited to be more. Remember, when we can do things by ourselves, what do we call that?
Independent.
Very good. Okay, so Nemo is excited to be more independent. And remember, when he comes back to hug his dad, Ming Chao, how does he feel about his dad when he comes back to hug him?
Appreciate.
Yep, he appreciates his dad. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about our character relationship map? Is it very easy to see how their relationship has changed throughout the movie, or difficult? Give me a thumbs up if it's easy to see how it's changed. All right, so we can do these character relationship charts, and that's more helpful for us, so we can write things down throughout the whole movie, and then we can see how character relationships change. Okay. All right, so we are going to talk about, who remembers seeing this image at the beginning of the movie study? Okay?
Okay.
Limited time, we only have 4 minutes. Maggie, do you remember this image from the beginning?
Yes.
Yes, what is it called, do you know?
A story mountain.
Yep, so we have our story mountain, right? Because it's in the shape of a mountain. So at the bottom of the mountain over here is where we're going to have our beginning. Okay, and the beginning of the story is where we see the characters and the setting introduced. All right, another name for that is called our exposition. Okay, it's where the story, you see maybe some background information, the characters and the setting. Okay, and then we have our rising action. So this is where we see the problem. The problem arises, and then the events get more and more interesting and exciting. Okay, all the way until we get to the climax. Who remembers what the word climax means in a story? Minnie, do you remember what the word climax means? What part of the story is this?
It's the most exciting part of a story.
Okay, so our climax is going to be the most interesting, dramatic, or exciting part of the story. Okay, and that's also going to be the turning point. So as our mountain's going up, we hit the climax and we turn and go back down, and that's our falling action. Okay, this is where we start to head towards the final resolution of the story. So our events start to calm down and we get the resolution or the end. Okay, so we're going to look at this in a bit more detail. Okay, so this is going to be what our story map looks like, and we're going to look at this at each part. And then for homework, what you're going to do is everyone's going to get a story map that looks like this. I'm going to send this home, and then you'll have all of your events, and you will need to put these events in the correct places on the story map. Okay, so you can fill it out on this worksheet here, or on in your movie study packet. You have something that looks similar to that. So it's going to be on pages 61, where you have the mountain, and you can fill it out on page 62. Kent, do you have a question? Okay, we need to get going on this because we have 7 minutes left. And it is not the time to be writing on the screen. So this is what our story mountain looks like from afar. Okay, and our plot, remember, plots are the events in the story, and a diagram shows the different parts. So we're going to look at the different parts of our plot. Our exposition, the introduction, the background of the story, characters, setting, and conflict. So the very beginning, background information is useful information that tells us maybe why a character does things that they do. So we know that Marlin is very overprotective of Nemo. And at the very beginning of our movie, we see some background information that tells us why. So Sierra, what part of the story tells us why Marlin is so protective of Nemo?
The part that the barracuda is near that sea animal ready to eat the clownfish.
Exactly. So that is what we call background information, right? It's not part of Marlin's journey to find Nemo, but it tells us why Marlin is so protective. Okay, good job. Okay, then we have our setting. So we know the setting is in the ocean, but let's look a bit more closely at where the setting is. So we're in or near the country of Australia. Okay, so we start out in the Great Barrier Reef. This is where Marlin and Nemo live, right? So let's take a look and see where exactly it is. So if we zoom out, we have Vietnam is right here, right? And this is where our story takes place, in Australia. Okay, so pretty close to Vietnam. So it starts there. And then this is where P. Sherman lives, in Sydney, Australia. So Marlin must travel all the way from the Great Barrier Reef down here to Sydney. So that seems like a pretty far distance for a fish that's only this big, right? And our time is, this is when the story takes place, we'll say that present day. Present day just means that this story, so the things that happen in this story could happen right now. It's not in the past, it's not in the future. These things could happen now. Okay, our inciting incident is the part of the story where conflict or problem is introduced. So Elsa, what part of the story is our problem introduced? Okay, well, what have we been doing for the past week and a half? What story have we been talking about?
Finding Nemo.
Uh-huh. So what part in Finding Nemo is the point where the problem or conflict is introduced?
When Nemo was get out of the tank and was prepared for a present for Dora.
That's the first problem that we see in this movie?
No.
What's the first problem that we see in this movie with Nemo?
With Nemo. He got caught by the divers.
Yep, that's our inciting incident. Okay, so this is where our conflict or problem is introduced, and then the whole story moves forward from there. Okay, can we have a Finding Nemo movie if Nemo never got lost in the first place?
No.
No, we cannot. So Nemo needs to get lost, and that's how the movie goes forward. Okay. Then we have our rising action. So these are all of the events that build up to the climax. Okay, so I'm going to go through these quickly. We have Marlin meets Dory. They meet the sharks. They go down to the bottom of the ocean to see the anglerfish. Okay, Nemo gets put into the aquarium and meets the other fish. They get stung by the jellyfish. They meet the sea turtles. And they get eaten by a whale. Okay. Then the other fish try to escape. Pelican eats Marlin and Dory. Okay. And Gil helps Nemo escape by flushing him down the drain. Okay, so then we have our climax. So the most interesting or dramatic part. So we're gonna stop here. You guys are gonna finish up for homework. Okay, so I will send these 2 worksheets home, and you need to think about what happens that is the most interesting or dramatic part in the story. Okay? Does anyone have any questions? I'm gonna unmute. Does anyone have any questions before we get off here?
No.
We don't have a quizzes today. I'll have a quizzes for us tomorrow, okay?
Okay. Bye-bye.